Okay, this is a book I got around Christmas time. It's the Spanish Made in Spain Comprehensive Catalog PBP Poch Star Wars book. You have to order it from Spain. It's the knowledge of a whole life of Spanish collecting in your hands. Written by Javier Ruilopez. Designed by Jose Maria Rosa. Forwarded by Stephen J. Sansweet. And it's all about the Spanish figures that were made in Spain in the early 80s by PBP. And this book you currently hold in your hands is devoted to the 3 and 3/4 inch, 10 centimeters of these Star Wars action figures produced in Spain during the first half of the 80s by the Spanish factory PBP SA, namely to the detailed review of each of the loose figures of the different Star Wars characters. This book has been constructed following the classic pattern of ancient catalogue raisons, reasoned catalogues, in the guise of a comprehensive and detailed treaty of all the different figures either produced or sold in Spain as an investigated and concluded by both the book's author and the other specialised collectors up to the book's date. So you've got some Spanish stormtroopers there and Darth Vader, the symbol of PvP and Pooch, unofficial book. Cost about €55 and you have to get posted, so that's another €20 on top of that. So let's take a look at what's inside this book. Really nice outer cover, great photos in this book, so let's have a good look at it. Okay, this book goes up to the Biker Scout. This was the last Spanish produced figure. All the other Return of the Jedi figures were imported. So you've got the Spanish PBP figure there. Obviously on Trilogo they would have released a lot of these Spanish figures as well. A lot of them were sent to UK, France and other places as well. Very famous forlom here. This is the Spanish variant with the reddish equipment there. It's very hard to find this figure. It cost a lot as well. So that's the Spanish figure there, the forlom. So you can see how nicely the photographs are in this book. TIE fighter pilot. So this would be the Spanish figure. This would be a Kenner or European no-see country of origin figure. So it's the Black Bespin Guard on a Spanish El Retorno de Jedi card. Cloud Car pilot. Shows you all the major variants of the figures. I mean, the way the pages are set out, it's more or less the same on for each figure, and you're really going to get like the well, this is quite a famous variant, the sort of AT-AT Paleface Commander. You can see him on the Trilogo card there. Another one, the Luke, very famous, this one. This is the Spanish figure, so it's got a lighter coloured vest, paler skin, you know. And there you can see him on the Return of the Jedi card. So the book talks about colour palette of the figure, the differences between this figure and the regular version. 21B, Imperial Commander. So this would be the Spanish figure again. So I mean, you really need to have a sort of be quite knowledgeable to tell the difference between these figures. Then we've got the Imperial Commander early release on a Pooch card. So these figures were tended to be imported figures that were either painted in Spain or just assembled in Spain. AT-AT driver. There's the Spanish card. Spanish figures tend to be more, because they use the plastic, could tend to be more brittle. This is the Pooch figure. So this one would be the Hong Kong figure maybe that's been assembled in Spain, whereas the Pooch PBP figures, the ones that are on El Return of Jedi cards, are made in Spain. Here's the Rebel Commander. He's quite different because he's got dark green boots. You can see it there. Focus. I mean, the photographs are really nice the way they're set out. Spanish figures tend to have no like the Hong Kong has been scarred out. So on this figure here, you can see the Hong Kong, whereas on this one here, it's been scarred out. Leia Hoff. She has very dark hair. Lebot. I mean, it's hard to tell the difference. I mean, obviously his hands are paler. Poch card there. These Spanish cards are very rare. Then you've got Han Solo, Bespin. So this would be the Spanish figure here, and then this would be the European No COO figure, which could also be made in Spain, but it's unconfirmed. Dengar. Notice his very pale face. So that's the Spanish Dengar. This is the Dengar from the Poch release, so this is the earlier Spanish version, which may have probably been assembled from Hong Kong parts or Macau parts. Argonaut, great figure. Yoda. So Yoda's quite interesting. Accessories, and then Yoda on the Poch card. Look at the background, it's very orange, whereas on most cards it's yellow. So that's a really unique card. And then the Spanish Poch, later Poch PBP figure. And then you've got more Yoda variants there. White Bespin guard. And then Lando Calrissian. It's got a more brownish complexion, whereas this one's reddish brown, whereas this one's darker. So I did a review of this figure because I got one last summer, loose, graded. And then this Lando here, the earlier release, has got a black painted neck. That's a very famous Spanish variant. And you can find some of the Spanish figures with the sort of translucent gun, which this gun alone can sell for £300. Well, I've seen it on as high as that on eBay. There's Lando on the Poch card. Han Solo Hoth on the PBP card. And the Spanish Han has a paler skin and a more purplish tone to his jacket. So that's quite a nice variant to go out if you can find it. Another Spanish Han there with darker brown trousers. Earlier release, Poch figure. Luke Bespin. So this one has, some of them have dark green boots. So the Spanish Luke Bespin has really dark boots. And there's the Spanish card Luke Bespin, very rare figure. Poch release on the earlier card Empire Strikes Back. This one's got orangey brown hair. IG-88, so an earlier release of IG-88, and I mean a lot of them, they haven't even got the figure on the card, they've just got the earlier release cards. There's no known documented mint on card example of the variation mostly due to lack of factory sealed examples of early PBP Poch figures. Bosk. So this one's got kind of reddish lips. Looks great though. And then this Bosk here, earlier release, Poch card, yep. Very famous, the dark brown rebel soldier. I got this one last year, cost a lot of money. So he's got really pale skin, dark brown vest, dark brown boots, whereas the regular Kenner version's got light brown. So you can see the difference between the two figures. This is a highly sought after variant. Earlier release Spanish Rebel Soldier from the Poch line. Snow Trooper. So you can find this one probably on the Tri-Logo card. This is on a Spanish card, this one. So this is the Spanish version here. Spanish figures tend to have better, more detailed sculpts. That's the Spanish figure there, and that's him on this Poch card. FX7, that's the Spanish version. So the book goes into all the detail for each figure, like colour palette, blister, stamp markings and stuff like that, layer, Bespin, Boba Fett, very famous. There's the Spanish figure there, Spanish Boba Fett on a tri-logo card. Earlier Boba Fett, Spanish version. Death Star droid. Power droid. R5D4 on the Spanish variant. There he is on the Spanish card, very rare item. Luke X-Wing, so the Spanish version of Luke X-Wing's got a sort of, the orange is a darker, stronger colour. Pale skin again, pale, you can tell like in the tone between the two hands. So there's the Spanish Luke on the PBP tri-logo card. Earlier release Luke on a Spanish card. So this book is just totally about the Spanish figures. So you've got two variants of the Spanish Walrus Man. You've got the light green version, which is also known as the Meccano Walrus Man, dark green face. You get the information about the weapons they come with, example in the baggie, plus the picture of him on the card. Red Snaggletooth, he's another famous Spanish figure. The Spanish version has a darker grey complexion. Here he is on the Return of Jedi card. I've got this figure on the Spanish card somewhere. I've got him loose as well, graded U85. And then you've got the Spanish Hammerhead. Some of the Spanish figures ended up on Return of the Jedi Kenner cards as well. Here's the Spanish Greedo. As you can see, the green's a different colour to this one. Boots are slightly different. Here's the Spanish Greedo. So the book just gives you so much information about these figures. Death Squad Commander. Death Squad Commander earlier release on the Poch card. Sand Person. There he is on the Poch card. And then the Jawa. Here's Han Solo. So this is the Spanish version there. Here's Han Solo on the Spanish card. I actually got to see one of these for real at the Star Wars Celebration Europe. Early release Han Solo on the Poch card. So you can see all the variations there. Ben Kenobi, one figure free. Spanish card, El Retorno de Jedi. Poch card, Ben Kenobi. So this book's a wealth of information if you're into collecting these figures, and if you collect tri-logos, this book's quite useful as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting book. I mean, the thing is, to get Spanish figures is quite difficult. I mean, loose it's not too bad. I mean, you can pick them up on eBay for about £10-20, and but some of the variants cost quite a lot, especially like the Forlorn with the red armour, and the dark brown rebel soldier, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, El Retorno de Jedi, the Poch version. So the Poch was the first release of Spanish Star Wars figures, then they went to PBP, so C-3PO with removable limbs, C-3PO there. Really nice card backs as the Poch cards had. R2-D2 sensor scope, really nice. I mean, this book talks about the factory and where the figures were made and the sort of plastics they used, and that some of the plastics sort of are now kind of brittle and can break easier than Kenner figures because the plastic they used was slightly, well, they tended to use reused plastic in the mix. So this Luke's quite famous for breaking apart, especially in the chest area or the torso. The Spanish Luke, earlier release Luke on a Poch card, loose variants. So you've got great artwork there. And you've got loads of information about the factory, random painting, factory floors, bubbles in plastic. Some of the language in this is it's because it's been translated from Spanish into English is a bit off, but you know, it's still readable, and you know, it's a very detailed book. And you've got bits of newspaper clippings about the factory and when the, you know, it's just quite a informative book. There's the forlom again. So this book's really a great book resource if you're into Spanish Star Wars figures. These four are quite famous, the sort of Cantina aliens. And then you've got history about the factory. A really great book. I mean, the pages are thick, and you can see the Luke X-Wing there looks really different to the earlier releases or Kenner releases. So the Spanish figures are quite unique because they were made in Europe. There's some great figures there. You've got a forward by so you've got the how about this book inside chapter 1, meet PBP 2 production stages 3 former characteristics 4 loose variants. Then you've got a bit about Sansweet, the authors, a forward by Sansweet as well. So overall it's a really great book, and yeah, I mean, if you're into vintage Star Wars figures, and especially if you're into loose figure variants, then this book you might want to purchase. I mean, you have to obtain it from the author, and yeah, it took about maybe a month to arrive, but it's a great book, and yeah, it's a useful resource if you're into these sort of quite interesting variants of figures. So yeah, I mean, it's nicely set out, and it's quite detailed. You can see that all the information is just, I mean, how the pages are set out is pretty much the same per character. So they talk about weapon variants, colour, blister, CO is the country of origin. Talk about the scarring on the figures. So this is the red Snaggletooth, so you can see the scar in the back of the leg there. So this book is a useful resource and gets my recommendation. This is the English version. I'm sure you can get a Spanish version as well. So bear in mind that it does have a few translation problems and spelling mistakes, but you can just common sense can get you through read any of that. Okay, so this is that Spanish book, PBP Poch book, and I hope this has been of use to you. Cheers, bye.